Hello there and welcome back. Hang on a second, let me put you guys down. Get the right light. There we go. This week I'm kind of slowing things down a little bit and I'm starting a few projects. One of my favorite things to do when I finished a bunch of projects, I just start a bunch of new projects. And the first thing that I am kind of needing to figure out what I'm gonna do about is we have a wedding coming up in a couple of weekends and I need to make a dress. Well, I say I need to. I want to make a dress to wear to that wedding, and I kind of have an idea of the type of dress that I want to make for that wedding, but I haven't gotten the fabric yet. Probably should have ordered some fabric like a week or two ago. Kind of slept on that a little bit. I didn't really jump on it as quickly as I should have, and now it's kind of getting down to the wire. I could probably order some fabric and have it rushed, but that just feels a little bit excessive. But I do want to run to Joann Fabrics and check out their selection, see if they have anything that is interesting and might work. Fall, I actually bought this fabric from Joann. It's a very silky charmeuse satin. This is polyester, which I prefer not to sew with polyester, but this is actually a pretty nice weight and drape, and it has a nice luster and it's very soft. So this could work. I think I want to do something very simple, like a simple slip dress. I actually have one that I've already made before that I'm thinking of using again, but I want to look through my patterns before I decide because I've used that pattern so many times. And also maybe it would be nice just to try something different. Yeah, once I find something I like, I just iterate on it constantly and make it over and over again. But first I need to go to the store, look at some fabric, and just kind of see what my options are at Joann. Love this fabric, but they don't have any more other than this color that I've found, and I would love to find this in like a dark hunter green or even more of the navy because I only bought a yard of it. Let's see, what is this? Okay, it's actually really nice even though it's polyester. This color is also beautiful. I love that color. I just don't know if that's what I want to make or not. This is also polyester. So I think I may have found something in there that will work for this dress, although the thing about Joann that I don't love is that a lot of their like silkier fabrics and print fabrics are polyester. I do wish that they had some nicer fabrics in those areas. So I'm always kind of like conflicted about whether or not I want to buy those types of fabrics and sew with them. In my experience, whenever I sew with those fabrics, I end up not just getting as much wear out of the final garment because polyester just doesn't always feel the best against the skin. So what I think I'm gonna do is head over across town and go to a thrift store. There's a thrift store across town that I actually really like going to. I may kind of see what kind of dresses they have there and see if there's anything that I can thrift for this. But there's also another Joann Fabrics over there on that side of town as well. So I may pop in there and just see if they have any more color options than some of the fabrics that I did like there. But let's just go see what we can find. Okay, that was kind of a bust. It was crazy in there, and I saw a few things that were kind of interesting, but every time I pulled out my phone to film, somebody walked into my shot, and you know, I just don't want to put strangers on the internet. I think that's not really polite to do, so yeah, I didn't really get many shots in there. I may run over to one more thrift store in Lansing, the St. Vincent de Paul thrift store, and see if they've got anything. I'm kind of striking out, and I'm not really sure what I want to do. Yeah, I'm just gonna browse a little bit more and maybe sleep on it tonight and then decide what I want to do. here are all the patterns that I picked up today at the thrift store. I love going to that thrift store. I also got a candy bar. I love going to that thrift store because they almost always have patterns, and a lot of them are vintage. This one does not look like it's vintage, but these other ones definitely look kind of vintage. This is something that feels very current, but it's obviously probably from like the 80s or maybe even the 70s. Anyway, so a lot of the styles of the patterns come back, and I really think the thrift store is a fantastic place to find really great patterns. And so every time I go, I'm always looking for things that feel kind of classic or have a shape of a garment that I don't already have. So I have quite a few vintage patterns over here. Actually, let me grab my little stash. So this bin is full of patterns that I have found at the thrift store. And I'll always go and look, especially at that St. Vincent de Paul in Lansing, they always have patterns. I don't know who is supplying their patterns, but they get like these huge bins of vintage patterns, and they're so much fun to look through. So like this dress I just showed you is just a fun little button-up shirt dress that I think is really adorable. It looks like it's pretty simple. It's just got a grown-on sleeve. I love that. I think that would be so cute for fall. This is just a little knit dress pattern. Very simple, but I really liked the little cover up here, this little cardigan that they had. And these are not necessarily patterns that would be difficult for me to draft for myself. It's just helpful to have these patterns for reference. This is another one that's just kind of a basic button-up shirt with a collar, and also has a little blazer that goes with it. And I have several kind of shirts that are kind of similar to this in patterns. I think this was a neckline that I didn't have in my stash yet. This is just a basic sheath dress. I feel like these types of patterns that are kind of basics are just really nice to have in your stash, because you can use them over and over and over again to create new styles and, you know, have a little bit of fun with designing a new style from an existing pattern if that's something that you're interested in doing. And then I also picked up this robe pattern. Again, a very simple, basic pattern. And this is not something that would necessarily be that difficult to draft, but I didn't have a pattern like this in my stash. And so I thought, hey, it can't hurt. I might actually have a pattern like this already in my stash, but I just liked it. So I just wanted to get it. Another thing to keep in mind too when shopping for vintage patterns is the size range. So sometimes the size range a lot of times, especially with vintage patterns, the size range can be pretty limited. And a lot of these patterns come in a specific size, or maybe like only 3 sizes. So I always check, let's see, this pattern here, yeah, this is size O, and it comes in 12, 14, and 16. I'm actually probably a little bit larger than the size 16, but I think it would probably be something that would be easy to grade. And this is a pretty loose fit pattern, so I think I could make that work. Some of the newer patterns, they come in, a more broad size range. This comes in sizes 6 through 14. And this one's 14, 16, and 18, which is right around my size range for most patterns. And occasionally I will find like plus size patterns and the vintage patterns, that I find at the thrift store, but they are very limited, which is a total bummer. I mean, even myself, I wouldn't consider myself a plus size person, but I definitely am on the upper end of the range of most of these patterns, which is also another reason I like to make a case for learning how to draft your own patterns and learning how to grade patterns, because every pattern is just a starting point, even if it is in your size range, and it is important to understand how to fit patterns to your body, and that just takes a lot of practice. I have gotten comments before from people who are like, oh, you make fitting look so easy. It's not easy. It's easy for me because I've just done it a lot. I've spent a lot of time practicing fitting and learning how to fit patterns to my own body. It takes practice and patience, and you just kind of have to put in the hours of learning how to do it. I'm not a fit expert. I can't give personalized fit advice, but the best advice that I can give you is if you're kind of over the status quo of what's available in stores and having things not fit, and you want to start trying to sew your own clothing, you're going to have to research and work up front to learn how to fit patterns to your body. I'll try to link some resources down below. And it's very rewarding. Once you learn how to do that, there's really no stopping you. You can literally make anything you want to make. So anyway, I'll step off my soapbox. But yeah, very excited about the vintage pattern selection at this thrift store, and glad I found a few more patterns. Okay, so I went back to Joann and got some of the fabric. I did find a couple of cuts of fabric that I thought were really pretty. So the first thing I think I'm going to try is this navy blue jacquard satin. And this is really pretty. It is a little bit sheer, which I don't think it's gonna be a big problem because I'm planning to line the top portion and I'll probably just wear a slip for like the waist down. So I don't think it'll be a huge deal, and it's just so dark. Anyway, I thought this was really pretty. It is polyester. Like I mentioned before, a lot of Joann's fabrics are polyester, which is kind of not my favorite, but these do feel really nice. I don't plan for this to be something that I'm wearing a lot. It is gonna be kind of like a single event type of garment. I did also get this other satin. It's a little bit heavier weight. It has a really nice luster to it, and it also is pretty soft. It feels kind of nice. This one was actually 50% off today, so I was like, you know, I'm just gonna do it. I did find some fabric on moodfabrics.com that was a viscose satin, and it was really pretty. I think that would have been beautiful for something like this as well. But that viscose satin was a little bit more expensive, and I would have had to rush it just to make sure to get it here in time, and it just wasn't in my budget this time. For this kind of pinky clay colored satin, I'm kind of using this as my backup, but I also thought this would make a really pretty slip skirt. I've been kind of looking at a lot of inspiration on Pinterest for slip dresses and slip skirts and just getting really inspired for that. So I probably will end up making something like that out of this if I don't decide to make a dress out of it. I only was able to get 2.5 yards of this because that's all they had left. So it may not be enough to make the type of dress that I want, but I think I would eventually use it for some kind of special occasion type garment. I do want this to be a bra friendly type of dress, especially because I'm planning to be dancing. I think there's going to be music there, so I don't want to be self-conscious about, you know, all my lady bits flying all over the place. So I would like to wear a bra. I'm gonna look through all of my little vintage patterns that I have here and see if there's anything that sparks some inspiration, and I'm also gonna look through my letter lobe kit booklet and see if there's any patterns in there that might work, but I'm kind of leaning toward the pattern that I've already made, so we'll see. I didn't really find anything in the letter lobe kit that I've super loved for this, but I did find a couple of my other vintage patterns that I think could be contenders. So this one is actually for kind of a more formal fitted dress, and there is an option here that is a little bit more bra friendly with the wide straps. I do kind of think I want to do this as like a bias cut dress, so I don't know that this one's going to be the best one to use just because it has kind of sewn in shaping like that. With a slip dress, you really don't need those kinds of things. It's actually a very simple style of dress. Then I also found this tank top pattern. This could work if I lengthened it. Again, you know, I want it to be bra friendly. These are not necessarily the most bra friendly. I'd have to kind of modify the straps. I also found this as an option with several different necklines. This actually right here could work, but again, this one has a princess seam, so it does have that shaping. It wouldn't be bias cut, and the main reason that I want this to be bias cut is because I kind of like the way that that shaping goes around the hips and kind of flares out at the bottom. So I don't know for sure that this would be the best option. So I am kind of leaning back toward this pattern, which I have shared several times here. I love this pattern. It's actually really, I mean, it's just a really great dress pattern. I've made it a couple of times, and I do have a video here where I made this dress several weeks ago, a few months ago now actually. So I think just doing something really simple like this, I might even kind of narrow the shoulder just a little bit to kind of give it a little bit, I don't know, I feel like it would just give it a little bit more formal vibe to kind of make that a little bit more narrow there, but still bra friendly. I could cut the top on grain as normal, and then the bottom here attaches under the bust. I could cut that on the bias, and then I could probably get that nice bias cut shaping in the skirt of this and just make it a little bit longer, more of a midi length. So I think I'm leaning toward this one. And also because I've already tried it, I know kind of how it fits and the shaping that it has already. So I really do like this one. Now, one other option that I have is a little bodice that I made a few months ago now. And I have actually used this bodice to make a dress for a wedding that I went to last summer in Spain. I'll put a link to that video here. And it's just a bra top foundation type bodice. And I also used it to make a tank top that I did a few weeks ago. So that is another contender. I kind of want to modify the shape around the bust a little bit, like the neckline area. And I don't know if I want to fuss with it right now. And also this wedding is in like a week and a half. And so I just want to make this as easy as possible. So I could still use that, but I'm definitely leaning more toward the slip dress vibe. I've been pinning a lot of inspiration for these dresses, so I may kind of do this slip dress with a few other little tiny modifications to make it a little bit extra special, or I may just keep it really simple. I'm doing that thing where I try to plan too much for myself. I just have so many project ideas, you guys. I love doing this stuff. You know, I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. But anyway, I gotta remember, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay, so I'm gonna serge all the raw edges of this fabric, throw it in the washing machine, and I'm probably just gonna hang it to dry because our dryer is a pain in the butt and takes forever to dry stuff. So I'm just gonna hang the fabric.